My name is Gideon Jacobs. I'm from South Africa and I'm here in the United States at the moment on visiting friends. We've started a new mission station there last year. I am part of Kwasizabantu mission, South Africa, and we have made very good friends here in America. But what I would like to share with you is how did it all start? How did I become a missionary? How did I become a Christian? And where did it all begin? I was born on a farm in South Africa. My parents were farmers and we farmed with sheep, wool sheep. We produced wool for the international market. When I was born on the farm, my parents did very well and they were well off financially, and in South Africa the farmers did very well. So I grew up in a very good home where we had enough money, we had enough food, and my parents were church people. They went to church every week. I grew up with church life and I grew up with the Bible. I was a very small child. I think 8 years old when my father gave me my first Bible as a gift. And my father sent me also to good schools. Also had only one desire in life, and that's to go farming. And that's what I did. I went farming, but as a young man, I got involved in drinking alcohol, having many friends. I got involved in smoking. I got involved in living an immoral life, because at that time, that was about the way that everybody lived like that. And slowly but surely, I got drawn in deeper and deeper in this wrong life. And the end of it all was that I ended up being an alcoholic. Yes, I was farming. I made a lot of money. We had money. But my wife and myself, we were not happily married. I thought that I married the wrong wife, and I was just regretting that I married her. My children were not obedient. Yes, we pretended to be happy. We went together to church sometimes, and we pretended. But at the end, there was no peace amongst us. And I knew I had a problem. I played golf and I enjoyed that, but the parties afterwards, and I was also very busy in the agricultural show that we had to offer every year. I was a leader in the community, but the opportunities to drink, the opportunities to hang out, the opportunities with other women, and all that just drew me deeper and deeper into trouble. I thought that it would make me happy. I thought to have many friends, to have power, to have money, to enjoy life. I thought that it would make me happy. And at age 30, I came to the point where I was really unhappy with my life. I had many black workers in South Africa that worked for me on the farm. They were just like me. They were drinkers. They lived immoral. They worshipped the ancestral spirits. They lived in witchcraft. But I never had an interest in them. They just worked for me. And my father also taught me that we can do nothing about the other cultures in our country. We must just leave them alone. They just work for us and that's all. So that was our attitude towards our workers. We used them like you use a tractor. You would service him, you would put new tires in, and in the evening you just put them in the shed. And you forget about them. You've got no interest in them. You've got no love for them. You've got no feeling for them. You just use them to make money. And that's what we did with the black workers on our farm. We just used them to make money. We had the same problems than them. I was just as much an alcoholic as they were alcoholics. And at age 30, one of my best workers one day came to me and he said to me, can I not borrow him money? He would like to buy a car. At that time, it was not the usual thing for a black man working on a farm to have a car. That would be very, very unusual. But he asked me, he would like to have a car. And I borrowed him the money. We bought the car for him. I can still remember how he went to different farms to show his friends that he has a car. He was so happy with it. But after 2 weeks, he had an accident. He overturned the car. The car was very much damaged. And I can still remember how I found him next to the car, crying. He was absolutely shocked and devastated by this accident. Little did I know that amongst the black people and their beliefs, it was something much more than just an accident. They believed that they were cursed, that someone cursed them, that someone went to a witch doctor and cursed them, and that's why they had the accident. And now this man, he had to go to many other witch doctors, find out who cursed him, and then curse back. And I didn't know anything about this. But this man was my best worker. I really loved him, and I really cared for him. And instead of working better for the company, instead of becoming a bigger asset to the company, he lost complete interest in his job. He didn't work it anymore. He didn't concentrate on his work anymore. And that really troubled me. And I really had the desire to help this man. But I couldn't. But one morning in the shed, in the barn, I thought I would approach him. And I wanted to speak to him. And I went up to him and I said to him, what's wrong with you? I mean, it's just an accident. We can repair the car again. And we can find you another car if it's necessary. It's just a car. What is this big business that you can't concentrate on the work anymore? And he said to me, you're a white man. You will never understand. I need to go to the witch doctor. I need to find out who cursed me. I must curse back. But the end will be good. Don't worry about me. I will be all right. And without thinking, I said to him, but how can you believe in such things? You must believe in God. And when I said that, a voice came to me from heaven. And that voice was so clear. It just said, Gideon, keep quiet. You don't know that God either. It was the first time in my life to hear the truth. I immediately knew that must have been God. Well, after all then, is he not just a fantasy? He's real. I couldn't say a word. I just turned around and I left the barn. And that moment I knew that that man has a better chance to get into heaven than myself. His father never told him about God. His father never gave him a Bible. He's not a church man. He just believes in witchcraft. That's the way he grew up. But he has more faith in what he believes than what I have in what I believe. I grew up with the Bible. I grew up with church life. But I didn't know the God that I served. I walked home and many thoughts came to me. Nobody knew about this. I just turned around, I walked out of the barn, and I walked home. Nobody knew that what was going on in me. But I knew that very same moment that I was on my way to hell. And I knew that I deserved hell. And I said to God, I couldn't speak to Him, but I said to Him, Lord, I don't know where you are. I don't know how to find you. I don't know anything. But you know how many times I tried to stop smoking. I couldn't. You know how many times I tried to stop drinking. I couldn't. You know how many times I tried to stop an immoral living. I couldn't. I know there's no hope for me. I know that I'm destined for a burning hell. And I know I deserve it. I was really honest with myself. And I looked at that man in my thoughts and I said, yeah, maybe when he appears before God, he will find more mercy. But I walked home and I was really disappointed. I said, but is it fair? How do you find God? I mean, you cannot even see Him. You cannot even talk to Him. How do you find Him? How do you get to God? Yes, I've heard His voice, but that's all. He doesn't speak again. How do I become a better person? How do I conquer all these things in my life? I know I don't want to swear at my wife. I don't want to get angry. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to smoke anymore. I'm tired of it all. But how do you do this? And I really became desperate as I walked home, and I cried. I was a hardened man at that time, 30 years old, but I was sick and tired of sin. I was sick and tired of that which I thought would bring me happiness, and it didn't bring me happiness at all. And then the voice came for a second time. Gideon, what about your father? At that time, I didn't have a relationship with my father. We couldn't get along, and I didn't want to have anything to do with my father. And then I remembered, about 2 years before that, my father came to the farm one day, and he called me and he said to me, I want to apologize, Gideon. I didn't raise you for Christ. I just raised you to become a farmer. I just raised you, teaching you how to make money. But I never raised you by being a good example as a real, true Christian. I raised you in the complete wrong way. But my dear son, I have become a Christian now. I've given my life to God, and I just want to apologize to you for how I raised you. And I remembered that suddenly. But at that time when my father came to me, I didn't think anything of it. I just forgot it. I just carried on with my life. But that day I remembered it. And I walked over to the telephone and I phoned my father. And I said to my father, Father, maybe you are Christian. Do you know how we can reach out to the black people? How we can speak to them concerning these beliefs of them for witchcraft and all that? I thought if I maybe can get someone to come to the farm to preach the gospel or to tell me how I can find God. But I put the black people in front. I said, Father, if you can arrange somebody to come and preach to the black people. And I thought, I will listen. And then maybe I can find God. My father was so surprised. I didn't know that they were praying for me. So eventually he phoned me back and he said to me, will I be prepared to go to a mission station in South Africa? Kwasizabantu mission station. And that's how I ended up there with my black workers, my wife, my children, my parents. I remember I came there with my smart Mercedes-Benz motor car. Yes, I had money, but I was actually so poor. But the black man that we met at the reception, he was just so full of joy, so full of peace. He treated me with such a humble attitude. I left this man right from the start. And I started to watch the people there, how they pray, how the husbands treat the wives, and how the wives reacted towards the husbands, how they speak to their children. I didn't understand much of the services that we had, but I could see these people, when they pray, they really speak to God. And I looked at myself, how unhappy I was with my wife, how my wife was so unhappy with me. I looked at my children, they were little devils. And me as the father, the biggest devil. I was so unhappy, and I really desired to get what these people had. I remember the Saturday night after the service in the evening, I walked out in the dark. I said, God, I don't know where you are. I don't know how to find you. But if you would give me what you've given to these people, if you would give me such a life, I would serve you for the rest of my life. Well, I didn't know what I said. I had no idea what that would mean later on. But I was really honest. I desired that. Yeah, we went away after that weekend. I didn't find God. I went back to my farms. But I lost interest. I think I was quiet on the way. It became an obsession with me to meet God. I was sick and tired of sin. I was sick and tired of being so unhappy. I wanted to meet God. I knew that God would bring life to me. I needed Him. I really wanted to meet Him. So quickly after that, I went back to the mission station. And there God started to open the curtains of heaven for me, to show me what is needed. He showed me a big wall that I had built, a wall of sin. He showed me all the bricks in that wall and what I can call them, all the different sins. And He showed me that He stands behind the wall. I can easily meet with Him, but I need to break down that wall. I had built it. I had built the separation between me and God. It was nothing to do with God. It was my decisions. I wanted to enjoy. I wanted to go into the world. I thought it would bring me happiness. And I had built this massive wall, and I separated myself from God. God loves me. God stands on the other side. God is ready to meet me, but I must break down that wall. That was a revelation to me. And then I found out, but how do I break down the wall? How can I do it? And they told me, confess your sin. Mention the bricks by name, every detail. Since you were a little boy, as God reminds you, confess it. Go for prayer, that God can cleanse you. Break down the wall in that way. I was so happy. I went to my wife first, and I really meant it. I was a broken person. I said to my wife, I know you won't believe me, but I'm terribly sorry. I treated you like a pig. I'm not worthy to be called a husband. I don't know, what can I call myself? Can you forgive me? I will try and make up. And I think she could see that something happened, that something broke down in my life. I went to my parents. For months I traveled to different black people, white people, old girlfriends, old teachers, old lecturers at college. God just brought the people one after the other to my mind. I remembered. I would travel for kilometers and kilometers over months to apologize, to look people up, to find them and to make things right. And that blessed me so much. And I suddenly found myself praying and speaking to God, and God speaking to me. I could spend time on my knees praying, and the prayer will not only go to the ceiling and bounce back. the prayer would go past the ceiling into heaven, and I would make contact with God. It was such a blessing to me. I could start to pray for my wife. I could start to pray for my children. I could start to pray for my black workers. I remember it was not long after that, about 6 months, my wife came to me one day. She said to me, "I can't help, but you've changed completely. I also want to have that, what you have received." And she became a Christian, just like me. I thought that she never had sin. I thought that she was a good person, but she came to me and she apologized and she put many things right. And we started together. It was such a blessing. And our children changed. They were still very young, but they changed and they became more and more obedient. And the family came together where we were so separated, where we were so far away from each other. I could see how God brought the family together. And I looked at the people on the farm working for me. Oh, I had such a desire that they must also find God. They were still hooked in their ways. And then something happened that amazed me. I would wake up in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock, and then I couldn't sleep. And I would think about the black workers on my farm. And eventually I couldn't sleep at all. I would go to my study. And later on, I just bent down and I knelt and I started to pray for them. That would turn eventually into a crying to God for the black workers on my farm, for their souls. I would wake up and say, but what kind of person I am? I mean, I find myself praying for black people. I had no feeling for them. I didn't care for them. But now, without wanting to, I find myself on my knees, crying for them, praying for them. And it was not long after that, the teacher at the black school on our farm came first. She said, "That God who helped you, can He help me?" She confessed her sin. I didn't know what to do. I just prayed with her. She changed completely. I heard how she would go to neighboring farms, put her life right, apologize to parents, apologize to people. I was amazed. And then the people in the farm started to come, one after the other. They would confess their sins. They would tell me how they would steal on the farm, how they would break the tractors, how they would steal sheep, how they would do so many wrong things. They would bring stolen goods back to me. They would say, "Can the God that helped you help me?" I remember the one person, he was the worst of all on the farm. He was a heavy drinker. He was really tough Xhosa person. He was the worst of all. One morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard a knock at the window of my room where I slept. It was him. He asked me, he said, "He's so sorry to wake me up, but can I just meet him in the office?" I went to the office with him. This hardened man, uneducated, illiterate, started to cry. He said to me, since last night, since it became evening, he just sees the fires of hell in front of him. Can the God that helped me, can that God also help him? I was so touched. I could see that God heard my prayers. And I could pray with this man. He could put his life right. And so did many, even the children of the black people. They put their lives right. There was a whole little revival on the farm. And eventually, we had to come together and we had to say, yes, I messed up my life. You messed up your life. God has been merciful to us. God has given us a new opportunity. Let's join together. Let's become a united family. And that's how a little congregation was born on the farm there in South Africa. Work of God, a little revival. And from there, things spread. And it was not long after that that God called me permanently to the ministry. I sold all the farms eventually, and I became a full-time missionary. And that is what I'm still doing today. And I serve God, and these black people that came to the Lord there on the farm, they are still with me, some of them. And we serve God together, and they are my co-workers today in the ministry. Thank you.